Thank you, Dr. Rohit, for this opportunity. I would like to elaborate a little bit on, how our fingers can get burnt when we don't really look at the macula before patients undergo surgery, especially anterior segment surgeries, because most often these patients have very, very high expectations with respect to visual outcomes. They're expecting 6/6 unneeded vision. So when we goof up by not looking at the retina, we are going to be in a lot of trouble. I have no financial disclosures. Now, why the OCT is because it's non-invasive, it's very rapid, and most importantly, it gives us a very, very good histological view of the different layers, right from the choroid to the retina. As you can see here, it compares very, very well to the OCT scans that we see. Now, this is a beautiful image which is actually showing you the histology, how well it compares to the SCOCT layers that we see when we scan these patients on our spectral domain OCTs and our step source. Now, this is a classification that is now currently being used, wherein we can see the different layers and how well delineated each one of them are. So we can actually, by segmentation, pick up errors in any of them, and we can actually prognosticate them vision-wise. So quickly for the younger generation, the postgraduates and the fellows, this is an important table where you can see what is hyperreflective on the OCT and what is hyporeflective, so that you don't get confused. And because the whole idea of why you have these different grayscales on the scan is to help us understand what is normal and what is abnormal, and therefore plan our prognosis and treatment for these patients. More importantly, we also get a quantitative analysis, which we cannot do clinically. We can never actually measure just by clinical examination what is the retinal thickness. And you must remember that different instrumentations give us different segmentation algorithms. In Spectralis, it's from the ILM to the posterior edge of the RP, whereas on the Cirrus, it's from the ILM to the anterior edge of the RP. So when we're looking at retinal thickness, this is another important factor. Other than that, we also get this map of the macular thickness where you can see which quadrant is involved, how far away from the fovea are we seeing edema or abnormality. I'm going to quickly cover some common scenarios that we need to be aware of. Here you can see gross cystoid macular edema with subretinal fluid. This is in a patient with BRVO. This is in a patient with arterial occlusion, this typical whitening. And when you see, loss of the delineation of the different layers, you must immediately think of a CRAO. Now, this is interesting, where you can see a normal and an abnormal. That's because it's a branch arterial occlusion, wherein the occlusive part is white and the normal part is appearing in perfect layers. So this is a clinical image where you can see just a portion of the retina shows the occlusion of the artery. These are common scenarios that we see in patients undergoing cataract surgery. Above, you'll see drusen, and the image below, you can see atrophy. Now, imagine you operate on this patient and the patient's visual acuity is not good after surgery. We are going to have a lot of explaining to do. This is patients with CNVMs, again, very commonly seen in this age group undergoing cataract surgery. And post-treatment, they do tend to improve. ERMs cannot be picked up all the time clinically, especially when they're subtle. This is post-op. It helps you plan combined surgeries. You may want to do cataract and vitrectomy with ERM removal in such a patient. Lamella macular holes, again, see, especially in the image above, the cataract is dense, the media is hazy, which is why you may miss this, whereas an OCT scan will definitely help document and pick up these lesions, and it becomes very easy to explain. VMT or VMA, vitreomacular traction attachment, again, can cause, if not less vision improvement, the quality of the vision will definitely be affected. If you can see here, it's a focal traction on top, and the image below is a broad-based traction. Again, you will need to change your management. These are PEDs that you can see here. This is a patient with PED, and CSCR again could be missed clinically. So it is important because the macula may look very, very normal on a clinical or slit lamp examination, but they will have significant pathology on the OCT. And also conversely, the macula may look very abnormal, but the OCT could show absolutely normal macular architecture, which helps you explain to the patient. So like a few clinical examinations, there's a 58-year-old man, 20/25 and 20/40 vision. He had an NS grade 1 with cortical cataract. He was interested in multifocal IOLs. The fundus, as you see, the clinical picture looks pretty normal, but when we did the OCT, there was ERM with retinal thickening. So we did advise the patient to undergo cataract surgery, but asked him not to opt for multifocal IOLs because the quality of vision may not be very good post-op. And this is another example of a 52-year-old patient who presented with moderate cataract. He had previously undergone a retinal detachment surgery. The macular abnormalities, rather appear significant on the color fundus photo, but then the OCT was very well, showed very well preserved layers because it was actually a buccal surgery. So the patient's vision was very good post-op, and he was very, very happy. So these are some of the other examples of unhappy patients after cataract surgery. You can see macular holes, you can see VMT with a lamellar hole. We see conditions like PSC, which, again, clinically, especially when the media is a little hazy because the cataract you may not be able to pick up. So when should you image these patients? When the vision does not correlate with the amount of cataract, or if the patient complains of metamorphopsia, if the patient has any suspicions, lesions clinically, and you want to, record them so that you can also make the patient understand as to what's going on. Documentation of conditions that are likely to progress post-surgery. Biggest example of this is diabetic macular edema, because we expect that the patient's edema can worsen, especially if the surgery turns out to be complicated. When the vision loss follows a phase of improvement after surgery as well, imaging is required. Clinical considerations preoperatively, definitely for macular hole, VMTs, epiretinal membranes, and macular edema, and postoperatively for pseudophakic, macular edema, post-vitreous detachment. Sometimes patients come to you looking for progression of DR or progression of age-related macular degeneration. Macular hole can be subtle or clearly visible when it is stage 4, but then when you have smaller holes or earlier holes, you may not be able to pick up. And OCT definitely helps us to monitor, as you can see in these patients, these images. These are the different stages, and again, all patients who had cataract, and therefore the images are a little, hazy and grainy, but then luckily we were able to document them. VMT, I've already shown you. Epiretinal membranes, again, patients may, subtle ERMs, they may not be able to, we may not be able to pick up, and the patient may attribute it to the cataract, but then they can definitely affect the quality of vision post-op, and post-op surgical inflammation itself can cause progression of these membranes. Macular edema, we need to be very cautious. So what we do is we image these patients, especially if they already have pre-existing edema, either treat them pre-op or intra-op with intravitreal pharmacotherapy. It could be steroids or anti-VEGF. This definitely plays a role because post-op inflammation can occur and can worsen the edema. This paper clearly shows that there is increased risk of even developing center-involved macular edema in those who did not even have pre-op edema. This is pseudophakic CME, can occur few months to weeks after cataract surgery. So they will definitely have initial improvement followed by drop in vision. Coming to wet AMD, important cause of vision loss in the elderly, and it can coexist with cataract. Therefore, we need to be cautious in these patients, document, explain, treat, whether before or during surgery. And a pre-op OCT becomes mandatory in them to confirm the diagnosis. So many of us hesitate to use the SC-OCT as a screening tool prior to routine cataract surgery, but why not? Since we are already anyways imaging them, whether to calculate your IOL power, whether we, to ensure that the systemic factors are in position, why not also check the macula for whatever conditions they have. So we did a quick study where we looked at the ST-OCT to identify macular pathology preoperatively. We had a large study population and it's still an ongoing, it was a prospective consecutive study. And we included all patients undergoing cataract in whom we could get, good OCT scans, which would
Chaitra, if you can summarize it.
Yeah,
Chaitra, if you can summarize this whole thing, you can go to the summary. Because that's the same question I wanted to ask you anyway. What percentage of your patients, you have written it here, 24% had macular pathologies. And the second question is...
Yes.
I think I'll ask the question. If you have slides, you can show it so that will save time. Second question is, through this dense cataract, what kind of an OCT would be better for somebody who wants to invest on a OCT for all the cataract surgery?
Any of the recent OCTs that are available are good. They're much, much better in imaging through even dense cataract, and a line scan is more than adequate. Even if you don't obtain a radial scan, a single line scan through the center of the fovea is more than adequate.
So basically, what you're suggesting is that it is not just for premium cataract surgery, but for all the cataract surgeries, if you are able to image it, it saves you a lot of trouble post-op explaining to them. Am I right?
Yes, yes. It helps us preparing them for the outcome of their cataract surgery. An informed patient would be definitely more cooperative, for post-operative management than somebody who doesn't have any idea.
Perfect. Thank you, Chaitra. And I can stop sharing the thing. I think you have answered most of it. I think the take home was very clear.